Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. After the storms blew through last night, it's really chilly today, and that's why I've got a jacket on. It's kind of overcast, but no rain. But the chill is in the air for sure, and so tomorrow we're looking at having storms Wednesday and Thursday, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer to be able to get in and get all the stuff going in the garden like we want to. So today I thought we would talk a little bit about the quote, "United we stand, divided we fall." We all know that there are things going on right now in this country and around the world that could cause division. And I hate to think that there are groups of people that's just primarily their job is to kind of crack the foundation a little bit of people that are joined together and do their best to kind of squeeze in there and cause those cracks to get just a little bit bigger, almost like, where water damages and does great harm. Those people can do the same thing, cause great harm to our very foundation if those things are allowed to continue. Now, if you've been with me for very long, you know that I love to tell stories about when I was growing up, or stories that Howie shared with me of his time growing up here on the farm. I also like to retell fables, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't paraphrase. And so today I thought I'd tell you a few little stories, and always paraphrasing. Now today I want to tell you a story about the 4 bulls and the lion. Now these 4 bulls were in a pasture together, and they minded their own business and done the things that bulls do. But they were constantly tracked and hunted by a hungry lion who wanted to make one of them a steak dinner. And they were cautious and knew that he was around and paid attention, and every time he made a move and tried to attack them, they would huddle together and bring their tails together and heads out, and everywhere the lion tried to attack, he ran into a set of big, sharp bull horns, and they protected one another that way. But the lion, being a wise enemy, knew that all he had to do was sit back and wait for these 4 bulls to run into a few problems with getting along with each other. Some things that might cause them to disagree and to let a rift get started between them. And the more they fought and the more they divided themselves up, the more susceptible they became to attack. Well, he waited long enough, and those bulls got angry with one another. And instead of working it out, they went their separate ways to the 4 corners of the pasture. And the lion slowly and methodically made his move until he attacked the first bull and made him a steak dinner. And he continued on. The second bull, the third bull, and then the 4th bull, until all 4 bulls met certain death by this one lion. Now they had been successful at one time of keeping the lion away, protecting one another, holding together as a unified body. But they let jealousies and they let competition, jealousy and competition, impatience, differences divide them and ultimately cause their deaths. In the United States today, we have lots of things going on, and there are many, many different opinions, many beliefs. Careful, we'll become like those bulls. We'll get so irritated and so aggravated at one another that we'll take opposite ends of the pasture and not work together to protect ourselves. You might take a stand against something and really stand strong and firm in what you believe. And if someone else comes along and stands with you, you're that much stronger. And if another comes along and they stand with you, well then all the greater you become. It makes me think of when Howie and I got married, and I've probably shared this with you before. But instead of a unity candle that brought the two families together, and that was important, Howie loved his family, and I loved my family, and we wanted our families to be unified. But we wanted to go beyond that and make it a personal thing for ourselves to be united. And being Christians, being believers, we wanted to make sure that we made Christ the center of our marriage. And so in our wedding ceremony, there was a place where we had it set up. Instead of the unity candle, we took communion. So when it was time, we had a dear friend of ours, Richard Decker. He prayed over us, and he served the sacraments to us. And then we took communion and invited the Lord into our marriage. It didn't mean that we never had any disputes or disagreements or fights, because I would be dishonest if I told you that that never happened, because it did on occasion. But we always wanted to be in a place where we recognized the other person, and we wanted to be fair with one another, and always let love be the star of the show. And it was. We didn't want a divorce ever. We wanted to have a happy marriage, and we did. And we wanted to be on the same page, and we were. We rest that on Ecclesiastes 4:12. And if one shall prevail against him, two shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. We wanted that to be important in our marriage. That the petty stuff, the arguments, those things didn't cause such a division that we would be unwilling to work things out. That united the two of us, along with the Lord, wanted to stand and wanted to have a marriage that was made in heaven. And it was. You know, down through history, over and over the words have been uttered, especially here in the U.S. United we stand, divided we fall. And that means something special, something patriotic, something that is so strong that it causes us to rise above those things that press against us. We've seen it on display after 9/11. You saw the words, United we stand, everywhere. And for a long, long, long time, patriotism was on the rise, and people stood up for their country and stood up for our values. The words united we stand, divided we fall go right along with a house divided against itself cannot stand. And those words come from Matthew chapter 12. When Jesus and his disciples were walking along, and on the Sabbath day, he healed an individual and cast a demon out of another. Now the Pharisees, that made them angry because he did this work on the Sabbath day. They actually accused Jesus of working for the devil. Jesus knew their thoughts and the intent of their heart, and he spoke these words to them. He told them that a kingdom divided against itself comes to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself would not stand. Now that's Josie paraphrasing. But Jesus told them that there is no way that if he was working for the devil, he wouldn't be casting out the devil. Meaning he wasn't going to be doing good to cast out the evil. Way back in American history, John Dickinson, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, wrote a song. And one of the verses in that song said, "By uniting we stand, by dividing we fall." It was important to them, the founding of America, that we stay united. That would be the only way they knew to overcome and to triumph over England and triumph in our freedom for this country, to be able to establish our own nation and to make our own laws and our own way of life. Later on, Abraham Lincoln, in a debate that he was participating in, used the words, "A house divided against itself will not stand." He went on to say that the country couldn't be half free and half slave, that it would have to become one or the other. Abraham Lincoln's opponent successfully argued that what he was really pushing for was a civil war. That to get what they wanted, war would be the only way to achieve that. Well, we know our history. We know that he lost his bid for that seat, but just a short time later, he became president of the United States. And then we know that there definitely was a civil war. Now, today we would say that we're thankful that everyone in the U.S. has their freedom. Now we know that that particular issue has been resolved with lots of work done since that time to get people on equal footing. But the battle of division is not over yet. Every day when we get up and we turn on the news and we hear all of the political pundits and everyone talking, we can tell that there's still division. You watch one channel and you hear one thing, and you watch another channel and you hear another thing. And you hear the politicians, both sides, saying this is the right way to go. We need to know what we stand for. Know what you stand for. Know what is morally right and what you and your family stand for. The enemy is still at work. There are people out there that are still trying to make division, still trying to split that foundation that we have. We saw it in all of the riots that we had in the last 2 years, where all kinds of property was destroyed, things were set on fire, people were breaking in and stealing property that didn't belong to them, shoes and liquor and jewelry and all kinds of things that had nothing to do with the original complaint. I think that it's time for us to realize that we need to stay united in our beliefs, united in our ideals of what we want this country to be and what direction we want this country to travel. You know, just like a family, our country is not without fault. It's not without people getting jealous and getting angry at one another. You know, if we're not careful, we become like those wolves that go to the separate corners of the pasture and refuse to give in even just a little inch. So they all went their separate ways, and each and every one of them was devoured by the enemy. And that's what the undercurrent of things are today, is to divide and to conquer. To make sure that the agenda that is being pushed out there is the agenda that's adopted by the masses. And because we're all off in our little corners and saying, I'm taking a stand right here and I'm not budging at all, and we refuse to come together on our common things that we believe in and work together and to protect one another, we leave all of ourselves vulnerable out there to be attacked and destroyed. In the story, after the first bull is attacked and destroyed by the lion, the other 3 bulls could have came together and said, okay, we're not going to be quite as effective as we was at first with the other bull, but we can still protect one another. We just have to get a little bit tighter circle or triangle and really watch each other's backs even closer. But they refused to do it. Number 2 got devoured. The 2 that were left could have still done their best to protect themselves as a group, as together, working together, but they still refused to budge at all. Now, when I talk about refusing to budge, I'm not talking about your ideals and your beliefs. When you have a belief system and you're standing in your beliefs, whether it's your personal religious freedoms or it's your moral beliefs, you take a stand for that. If you say my family's living this way, then you stand for that. But if it's something that's for the common good, that you and your neighbor can go agree together that we're going to do this thing, we're going to work together in this little community, and we're going to be united in our beliefs, united in our work ethic, united in how our way of life, then the foundation becomes stronger. The number one thing that's going to make this the foundation the strongest is to make sure that we're built on the rock. Like the old gospel song says, on Christ the solid rock I stand. That's where we have to take our stand, is right there. The guys that lost their lives in the Alamo, they took a stand. And although they perished, they took a stand. And they went down in history. And people from all walks of life have looked at them down through history and been amazed at the stand that they took, that ultimately caused the people to come together and build themselves up and overcome the enemy. And that's what we have to do too. We have to remain united. Remain united. And remember that we don't want to be a house that's divided, that's going to fall. We want to stand on those original principles, those original ideas, that original foundation. Now, I would say the things that are going on in the news today, I would almost guarantee that there's going to be some hot and heavy debate. Things might get really ugly because the enemy sees it as an opportunity to cast that first crack at the foundation that we're on today. So be careful and be wise and be prepared to sweep the enemy right off the foundation and to hold ourselves together. Well, I hope I encouraged your hearts a little bit today, guys, to work your best to be united. All of us stand firm. Hold on to your convictions. Be willing to work together and to protect one another. Don't be like those bulls. Don't be bullheaded, or you'll find yourself somebody's steak dinner. Well, until next time, guys, this is Josie. Look well to the ways of your household. I love you. I really do. We're gone.